Hey everybody, my wipe here. Yes, it's back, but not fully yet. This is a special episode of Amiga Retro Games prior to Season 3's start. Mostly because I want to focus and showcase, in my opinion, one of the best 16-bit composers of the time. Back in the days of the Amiga, the Commodore 64, the Atari ST, ZX Spectrum, you name it, you know? So for this one-off special episode of Amiga Retro Games, we're going to focus and showcase Mr. Dave Lowe, otherwise known as UncleArts. So, if any of you have ever owned an Amiga computer back in the days, or an Atari ST, or a ZX Spectrum, or Commodore 64, you name it, yeah, back in the 80s and 90s, at some point or other you will have come across Dave Lowe's music in some form in a video game. No question about it, with over 70 titles behind his belt, some very famous ones as well. He really set a bar rolling for some of his work. I mean, especially with some of the unique stuff he did with assembly coding, an actual digitized sample into a game for the Atari ST, which was, up to that point, was unheard of. It was not even thought possible to be done, but he did it. He was the first one to ever do it. But just to give you a bit of a background before I showcase some of his actual work, Dave is also known by the name of UncleArts. And he's a British composer known for his work on computer games from 1985 to 1998. He got most attention by making music with professional synthesizers like the CX5, the DX7 and the RX11, especially for the drum machine on that, for additional audio cassette tape distributed with both Starglider 2 and the game Carrier Command. His Starglider soundtrack, as I just mentioned, for 16-bit computers for the ST and the Amiga was notable, having 15-second long song, a single sound file with vocals and synthesizer for both versions. Although the Amiga version did actually have a second theme that only recently Dave Lowe's only just remembered that he did. So we'll cover that one later, folks. The Amiga version's title also had used higher quality instrument sounds for the then prevailing standards before what was known as tracking music came on the scene. And I have to be honest, between Dave Lowe and Olaf Gustafsson and a few other composers on the Amiga days, I wouldn't have got into music myself if it wasn't for the idea of tracking and some of the work that they did in video games, which inspired me to actually do what I do today, as well as doing this show. Dave is most famously, though, recognized for composing and recording the music for the renowned Frontier Elite 2. Now, if anybody's heard of Elite Dangerous, the new game that's just come out from Frontier Developments, Frontier 2 was one of its predecessors. And Dave's music track for that was absolutely first-rate and undeniably one of his best pieces. And he's, like I said, he's done a variety of things. So rather than me waffling on, let's do a quick showcase of some of those stuff, shall we? Enjoy.
This is why you learn to fly. Never fear to the sky. Loosen up, you're in control. This is it, all systems go.
So I'm glad you enjoyed all that. Yeah, there's going to be more later. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to play a few more of the tracks later, and then there's going to be the, the big showcase of why I'm actually doing this special episode of Amiga Retro, which most of you out there who know about Dave Lowe already probably suspect why I'm doing this. But nonetheless, I'm glad you all enjoyed that little showcase. Some really good music in there, wouldn't you agree? The reason why I stopped it there at that point is because recently Dave and his daughter Holly have uncovered a few DAT tapes from their loft archives at UncleArts, and he came across that Amiga version of the Starglider theme that is not generally well known, amongst many people. In fact, he laughed and joked about it on one of his blogs, saying that he thought it was from maybe the French version or something like that. I don't know. But the main reason why he laughed is because he hadn't heard that, Holly at least hadn't heard that version before. And it was based on one of his own, her dad's own original pieces called Games, which he did way back, written before 1980, according to what she said, by an experimental band that Dave Lowe was involved in called Repro 80. Unfortunately, the original version by Repro 80, according to what Holly Jazz Lowe has said, is only available on DAT tape somewhere now. So they'll try and put that up on their website or SoundCloud at some point in the future. But in the meantime, I thought I'd just take a moment, just before we go into some more of the old game stuff, to show you a version of the same song from Starglider that you just heard, done by Holly and her dad, roughly around about 4 years ago. They recently put it up on SoundCloud, and I have to be honest, I actually like it. Even though it's a rough demo cut, I actually like this version. So sit down, enjoy, and I'll let Holly sing her heart out for you, as well as Dave playing his great guitar stuff. See you in a bit. Wasn't that a great piece of music? I enjoyed that one. Anyhow, we're going to go back to a small montage of Dave Lowe's great stuff he did for the Amiga and the Atari ST and stuff. Mostly on the Amiga, this one, because it's an Amiga show after all. And we'll take it further from there, where when we come back from this little montage, we'll talk more about, or I'll describe more about his Starglider 2 stuff, his Elite stuff with Frontier Elite 2, and obviously there's a big thing going on right now regarding UncleArts and Dave Lowe anyway, which I want everybody out there who's watching this video to be, you know, kind of involved in. It's worth it, given everything you'll have watched over the video. But more on that later. For now, here's a little bit more of Dave Lowe's musical work from the Amiga days. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Holly. This is my dad, Dave Lowe, also known as UncleArts. He's a musician and a programmer and did the music for lots of games in the 80s and 90s, over 70 game titles, including some big ones like Elite, Starglider, Street Fighter 2, Carrier Command, IK Plus, blah 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 blah.
And this is my daughter Holly, who is a professional musician as well, and she has played all over the world really, and she now works at UncleArts with me. And it was her idea really to get on Kickstarter and redo some of these original pieces.
Yeah, basically we see a lot of requests for wanting remakes of the original pieces that you did because they're too good really to not remake them.
So the Kickstarter project is a CD with remakes of the best titles. We're going to remake them using electronic stuff and real instruments with real musicians, because we are, both live musicians, and we want to really redo it the way it could be done in those days if we'd had, the technology that could deal with it.
Yeah, and then we're going to do your Frontier, the Elite Frontier.
The theme, the main theme, and the second theme that I wrote, we're going to do them basically at Abbey Road with a real orchestra.
It's going to sound amazing. But we can only do this, obviously.
Yeah, with your support. I mean,
we really want to do it, but we only can do it if you guys want it. So, please.
Kickstarter gives us the opportunity to find out whether you do want it, and if you do, we'll do it,
then
and
great.
It will be great.
Yeah. So we've made a little teaser for you. This is this piece of music that you're going to hear has got some of Starglider, Carrier Command, Afterburner, Elite in it as well. Just a bit of a fusion together of all of those pieces, give you an idea of what we're sort of talking about with those remakes, and I really hope you like it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the video. Cheers.
And enjoy.
You've seen the second part of the little teaser stuff there of a montage of Dave Lowe's wonderful work that he did for certain video games. If I was here doing all of his titles and music and stuff, we'd be here for a good few hours, trust me, folks. However, that and what you just saw with Holly and Dave actually describing their Kickstarter project is incredibly exciting, especially if you're a retro gaming enthusiast, especially if you're an Amiga and Atari ST fan. and especially if you're a Frontier fan, because I think for years, many people have been wanting an orchestral version of the Frontier's main and second theme. It's just an iconic piece of music that stood the test of time throughout gaming history. The only thing that's ever come close, and I will give him a good shout out on the show, is a good mate of mine called Jamie Treacher, who did a wonderful reimagining creation of the Frontier theme, which Dave Lowe himself has actually liked, and so has Holly. So much so that a little birdie tells me that maybe young Jamie might be brought on at Abbey Road to help out with the consultancy regarding the orchestral thing, but we don't know that for certain yet. Just a little birdie told me that one. However, we're not done quite yet. No, I'm not going to do any more of Dave's montage work. Like I said, if I did that, I'd be here for hours. But there are a couple of little things that have cropped up since the Kickstarter programs did start for this Temporal Shifts album. The first being that while they were scouring through some of their DAT tapes, Dave and Holly managed to find a very, very rare cut of a theme for Frontier Elite 2 that was never used. So he put it up on his SoundCloud. I'm going to share that with you in a moment, and also put a link in, like I did with with games, to their SoundCloud and webpage as well, so you can click and check it out for yourself if you want to see it as a high quality version. But also, they've managed through crowdfunding with the community, massive help to them, because originally they were having difficulties with their Kickstarter because of equipment failure. You know, at the test of time, old equipment, things go tits up. It's as simple as that. But through help and through patience and perseverance, they've managed to recover a lot of their original studio and demo cut recordings, which they are going to include for Kickstarter backers as a free CD. Free digital download, etc. And anybody above, I think it's about 55 UK pounds backing, will get a CD version of it. Check out the Kickstarter page for more information on that, but it's worth getting that. So not only do you get these remakes, you also get a hell of a lot more when it comes to the originals. I mean digital originals from the source code themselves, so definitely worth checking out. There's one more final little bit of information that comes regarding the Temporal Shift album. That will come after I've shown you this little demo of the original Amiga version of the alternate theme, as I humbly call it, for Frontier Elite 2. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm Lucy Lowe. I'm Dave Lowe's daughter and Holly Lowe's sister. If you have already backed the Kickstarter, you'll know who they are. If you haven't, Dave Lowe, my dad, also known as UncleArts, did a lot of computer game music in the 80s and 90s. Carrier Command, Starglider, Street Fighter 2, Elite, Frontier. There's like over 70 of them. If you've played computer games, you'll have heard his music. And their Kickstarter is they are redoing it in the studio, a mixture of electronic and using live musicians and all sorts of instruments, and it's going to be amazing. They're also going down to Abbey Road Studios and they are redoing the original theme tunes to Elite 2 with a big live orchestra. It's going to be awesome. So there's already a lot of rewards on there. We're now adding to the rewards. I've come on board and we're going to make a documentary. We're going to make the making of this album documentary. So we're going to follow them down to Abbey Road Studios. We're going to be in there. We're going to watch it happen. We're also going to be in this studio. They're going to be in here for months and months working with different musicians, all different studios across the country, watching how they score it, watching interviews. Dad's going to talk about how he first got started, how he taught himself, and then how he ended up being the first person to ever put sample music onto the Atari ST. So it's going to be a really nice film, and it's going to be free for all backers. It's going to be a free digital download. Obviously it can only get made if we reach our goal. We're 33% of the way there, so it's good, but it could be a bit better. So as an incentive, if you pledge £55 or more, you will also get a credit at the end of the film. You'll get your name at the end of the film, just as an incentive. So if you have pledged, maybe you might want to think about upping it, or if you haven't pledged, maybe you want to pledge. There's so many people out there that want this album to be made, including us, and I really want to make the film. I think it's just going to be absolutely magic, and I'm really, really excited about it. So just keep sharing this video if you can, and keep spreading the word, and thank you very much. It's just another mission.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's not a 1 hour lengthy show and stuff like that, but I hope everybody got an idea of just how impressively talented Dave Lowe was back then. He still is an impressive musician now. I shouldn't discredit him for any of his current work, because he does movies, TVs, jingles, all sorts of stuff. Yeah? And obviously, Holly is, as she said in the video, a professional musician all around the world. Yeah? But with all of that wonderful stuff, why wouldn't you go and back this thing? They're about a third of the way through at the time of me recording this video. Go help them out, show them some love, and tell them Mindwipe sent you. In the meantime, though, thanks for watching, and I will see you, hopefully, soon. Take care.